If you've lived your whole life in the Midwest like I have, you haven't experienced the whole tide thing. Oceans have tides. Oceans have high tides and low tides. And the reason oceans have tides actually is because of the moon. The moon, we can think of it as kind of, well, their gravity exists between two objects, and we kind of have a gravitational pull of the moon that acts on this right here. This is kind of the, think of this as the Earth's atmosphere to a certain extent, but the large bodies of water. So basically, in the vicinity of the moon, we have water being pulled up off the Earth. So those are relatively high tides. Okay, and on the place directly opposite, we also have a high tide here. Now remember, the Earth is rotating on its axis counterclockwise. See if I can do this. Counterclockwise. Okay, and so the Earth kind of spins underneath the large body of water lifting effect, so to speak. So we actually, about every 12 hours, the Earth, as the Earth rotates, about every 12 hours, you're either going to be directly near the moon or directly opposite the moon. So half of 24 hours is 12. So every 12 hours, you'll have high tide. So I have some pictures here to kind of show you. This is high tide, and this is low tide. And I don't know if you can kind of get a sense for the scale here, but these are like people. So that kind of gives you a sense of what that looks like. I think that is so cool. One more picture of high tide and low tide. So of course this is high tide, and this is low tide. I just think that is so cool. One more thing about the whole tide thing. If the sun, in addition to the moon, can give a secondary effect with regard to tugging the oceans off, kind of lifting them up off the Earth, so as to speak, giving a high tide. So here we have the moon and the sun is working together. They are working together. And so we have an extra high tide called a spring tide. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is over here about 2 weeks later. We have the moon over here and the sun over here. Again, they are working together. So we have spring tides actually every 2 weeks. And then here is what if the sun isn't working with the moon, but kind of working against the moon, so as to speak. And that's the case if they are at right angles. And we said that the phase of the moon, when it is at right angle with the Earth and the sun, is first quarter over here, and then about 2 weeks later, last quarter over here. So both of these, the sun is working against the moon in that case, with regard to tides, and you'll have high tides, but high tides will be what we say diminished. So the diminished high tides are neap tides.